Hi, am I on? Terrific. Okay, first of all, thank you all for having me. Thank you to Democrats Abroad and Democrats Abroad Barcelona and Annie for setting this whole thing up. I'm so sorry I couldn't be there with you live, but that in no way diminishes my passion for what you're all doing and the difference I believe you can make. I just had to be at the White House at the exact same time, so we had to be pre-recorded. I also wish I could do this speech in Spanish, but growing up in Canada, my second language is French, and if I'm being honest, I don't even speak that very well anymore. But it's a real pleasure to meet with people who care enough about democracy to be here with us today and make this effort. Living overseas, I know you don't have to be dialed into American politics, so I'm feeling very grateful that you have all been paying attention. It's actually people not paying attention that inspired me to launch the Politics Girl project in the first place. I started Politics Girl as a reaction to pretty much no one in my life caring about politics. Anyone who knows me can tell you I've been going on about this stuff for years. I believe it truly matters. But for a long time, I felt like I just might be alone in that feeling. Before I started this project, my friends' eyes would just glaze over when I would start in on any political issue. People just don't want to talk about it. They don't want to have to think about it. And it's that apathy and that lack of understanding around how things work and what's important that got us to where we are today. And I don't think it would be some shocking revelation if I tell you that America is not in a good place. I started the Politics Girl project as a YouTube channel after the second Obama midterms when we lost the Senate and basically any chance to accomplish anything for the next 2 years. By that point, Republicans had become straight-up obstructionists whose entire goal was to undermine the president. Mitch McConnell started calling himself the Grim Reaper, the idea that his desk was where legislation came to die, and the idea that this party would gain more power just horrified me. But what upset me more was that most people didn't seem to care. But when I talked to people, I realized that that lack of interest, it actually came from a lack of knowledge. The people just didn't understand how the system works, so they didn't realize what a big deal this all was. And quite frankly, they didn't really have the time or the inclination to figure it out. So I started Politics Girl to figure it out for them. I basically started as online civics. Well, maybe with my personality more like civics with sass. I thought if people understood the system, maybe they would be more likely to care about the system, and then we could start to change the system. I want to be clear that this apathy we feel about politics is by design. What have we been told not to talk about our whole lives? Politics and religion. And what are the two things that have caused the most problems in the history of the world? Politics and religion. We took civics out of American schools, so most people have no idea how government is supposed to work. We no longer have truth in broadcasting laws, so people can lie to us for profit and call it news. And we have allowed unlimited money in politics, so that's basically left us with the very undemocratic money equals power. We are uninformed, overworked, and underpaid, and over here, every 2 years, we're trotted out to vote for positions and issues we really don't understand or have the time or resources to figure out. And who does that serve? It serves the people in charge and the moneyed interest who put them there. So who does the government end up representing? The people in charge and the moneyed interest who put them there. So it is understandable when people look at government and they think, why should I bother? They don't care about me. Why should I care about them? I wanted people to understand that you should care about them because whether you're paying attention or not, what happens in the government directly affects us. Politics affects almost every aspect of what we do, are able to do, or might want to do in a modern society. It is the steering wheel for the direction the country is going. Our government decides everything from the seemingly innocuous, like how fast we can drive, to the life-changing, like if we have the right to make decisions over our own bodies. Checking out of politics doesn't mean politics doesn't affect you. It means you can't affect it. And that's how most politicians like it. I started talking about this stuff because the more we understand, the more we care. The more we care, the more we vote. The more we vote, the more politicians are accountable to us. And when politicians are accountable to us, we can finally demand they change things for the better. My little YouTube channel became a big TikTok channel. My TikTok channel became an influential Twitter feed. And over the past year and a half, my followers, people who care about truth and democracy, got to 1 million people from all around the world. My videos have hundreds of millions of views. I won a Webby. I launched a podcast. And I'm not saying that because I think I'm cool, but because there are that many people who care about what's going on, and those numbers only continue to grow. I've done interviews for Radio Vienna. I've talked to people in England and Germany. I have people watching in France and Korea and Belgium. Not just expats like you, but foreign nationals who are paying attention. They know, as you do, that if the wrong people regain power in America, the world will be in trouble. You can see what's happening in Hungary, in Belarus, in Brazil. You guys are infinitely closer to the war in Ukraine than we are, but it's all connected. How long do we think the world order lasts if America falls to fascism? How long does the planet have if the party in charge of the country that could make the biggest difference doesn't believe in saving it? How safe are any of us if we give the nuclear keys back to the party who doesn't care that the last president stole nuclear secrets? You have lived away from America, so I can imagine that your worldview has expanded past white Christian nationalism. I'm sure that knowing people, many different kinds of people from abroad, has made you less xenophobic and more accepting of diversity. And I'm sure your thoughts of book banning belong in some evil time in history and not in the modern day USA. I imagine you can see the importance of treating all American citizens as equal and not making one group undeserving of the rights to their own body. Well, unfortunately, these are things that are all on the ballot in America right now, and we really need your help. I'm going to do a rant coming up for Democrats abroad, basically saying all of that, but I hope you will share it with your friends and family. I think my rants work because they're short and to the point. I put into words what people are thinking, or I'm thinking what people can't put into words. It's also an easy thing to send along. I'm not a politician or a pundit or a journalist. I'm a messenger. I talk like a normal person. I'm just a political nerd who loves research and this country, and I answer to no one, so I can just tell you the truth. And the truth is, there are 6 to 9 million voters abroad on any given year, but only like 10% of you vote. I want people to know that 6 to 9 million people is an election-changing number, and I want you guys to feel your power. The thing is, I really believe we can fix this country. I know we're at a terrifying crossroad, but I believe it is filled with opportunity. I wouldn't be doing all of this work if I didn't believe we could turn the country around, and I subscribe to the idea that everyone should be interested in politics, because ultimately democracy is only as good as its citizens. We get what we vote for. And for a long time, most of us, even us over here, we weren't voting. That's how we got to a place where one party in a two-party system is actively embracing Christian national fascism, and most people don't even know. They don't know that the country that they live in, the world they take for granted, the democracy they believe is their birthright is on a cliff's edge. So it's our responsibility to tell them, to make them understand. Democracy isn't just about getting the vote. It's about having a vote that counts in a society that reflects the will of its voters. Ultimately, democracy is about consent and accountability and living under a rule of law that we can trust in. It's the ambitious idea that the people control the government and not the other way around. There's an old Winston Churchill quote that says, "No one pretends that democracy is all perfect or all wise." In fact, it's been said that democracy is the worst form of government, except for all those other forms that have been tried. I often think of American democracy as a couple in a long-term marriage. You know, we've been together forever, we're used to each other, and we just kind of figured democracy would always be there for us, so we took it for granted and we stopped paying attention. That happens. People get it. We've been in marriages. But we also understand that when you neglect a relationship, when you stop putting in the work to hold on to it and keep it fresh, that's when you can lose it. We need to remember that governments don't just stay democratic, and that history shows us it doesn't take the majority of the population to change the system of government. It often just takes a determined, well-organized minority who think their ideas are better and go for it. Republican leadership understands this moment. Quite frankly, they've played a big part in bringing us here. Democrats may have taken democracy for granted, but Republicans have kicked it out of bed. Democracy just doesn't work for them anymore. They understand that they no longer have the majority sentiment in the country. So instead of courting new voters or expanding their message, they are doubling down on white Christian patriarchal dominance by turning red states, which have an outsized power in our electoral college system and Senate, into fascist fiefdoms where the will of the people has no place. And they would like to do that to the whole country. The Republicans have a plan. Take power in the midterms and install power in the next presidential election. And they aren't hiding it. They've already tried to overturn the will of the voters in the 2020 election, and they have spent the past 2 years passing over 450 voter suppression laws around the country. President Biden just called it out in a recent speech. He said, "We are dealing with extremist, anti-democratic forces that have brought fascism to our doorstep." And this isn't me being some hyperbolic Chicken Little telling you the sky is falling from across the sea. This is our reality. A lot of us have been sounding the alarm for years, but the warning has finally gone mainstream. This upcoming election, the 2024 presidential election, and the elections that follow are not about red versus blue, conservative versus liberal, Democrat versus Republican. These elections are about democracy versus autocracy, freedom versus control, the future of America. And if we're being quite honest, the future of the whole world. I wish things weren't so dire over here, but they are. You know they are. You probably wouldn't be here if you didn't. The Republican Party is actively embracing the abandonment of the rule of law and embracing violence as a way to power. They are banning books and forcing children to carry rapists' babies, and they're choosing to let women suffer and die for the crime of getting pregnant, and they are just getting started. They control the Supreme Court, they block voter protections, and they are still vocally supporting a criminal as their leader. They are coming for the things that we take for granted, like Social Security, and the things we fought so hard for, like reproductive freedom and the right to love who you love. And we simply can't allow it. This is a terrifying moment in American history, but it is also a huge opportunity for Democrats and for anyone who believes in democracy. Yes, we are fighting an uphill battle because the system itself favors Republicans. But I believe they've bitten off more than they can chew with their in-your-face reaction to the reversal of Roe and their embracing of extremism. Things are not playing out over here like they thought they would. It turns out that taking people's rights to their own bodies isn't wildly popular. Deep Red Kansas just shocked the Republicans by voting to keep abortion legal. New York and Alaska just flipped red seats blue in congressional special elections that centered around democracy and abortion rights. And I think the Republicans have boxed themselves into a corner with their kind of ride or die commitment to Trump. They underestimated the good people of America. They underestimated the Biden administration's ability to get major popular legislation passed. And they have underestimated how badly their extremist MAGA candidates were going to fare in a general election. These midterms that we're coming up on, they are not like other midterms. Everything you've ever heard about how midterms play out, that the party in power always loses seats, it's not going to work here. Mainstream media is still trying to sell that story because it gets people fired up and it keeps the ad dollars rolling in, but we are in brand new territory, and I really think it favors us. But we're going to have to work our hearts out. Not just to get the country back on track and away from Trumpism, but have the chance for the United States of America to really live up to its brochure. To be the country we keep telling people we are. The shining city on the hill, the land of opportunity, a place where anyone from anywhere can make it if they just work hard enough. A country where fairness is a virtue and freedom is for all and anything is possible. It's an aspirational point for democracies around the world, and we want it to be a place that you can be proud to be from. You know that scene in a movie where the car goes careening off the road and hits the guardrails and spins out and is teetering on the cliff's edge and all the terrified people in the car are just trying to balance so they don't fall into the abyss? Well, that car is America and the cliff is the midterms. If we lean the wrong way right now, we will fall into autocracy and we won't be able to stop it. So we need to lean left. We need to convince the majority of the country to lean with us. We need to convince your friends and family who are Americans to vote and send that vote in. We need to lean away from authoritarianism, get that car back on solid ground, and then set a new course. Save us, secure us, head somewhere better. That must be the goal. I'm a big believer in being responsible for our people, all of our people. Not only do we have to continue to be part of important groups like yours, but we have to be putting in the work, volunteering, writing letters, call banking, text banking, getting people registered, and making sure they vote. But we also have to have those uncomfortable conversations at our dining room tables and with our friends and family. We have to speak up and we have to engage that uninformed person that's spouting misinformation. And I'm not talking about diehard Trump fans. I would not waste your time there. I'm talking about those people that just don't know, who aren't paying attention, who are confused, or who don't vote. Remember, only 10% of voters abroad vote. Imagine what a difference 50% would make. We are in an existential crisis, and most people don't even know. So we have to tell them. We have to inspire them. We have to get them to request and fill out these ballots. But that is entirely possible. We can do that. I talk to leaders around the country every day. As I'm speaking to you, I'm at the White House, and I can tell you that they are ready to fight, but they cannot do it on their own. They need the will of the people who believe in democracy and truth to be louder than the hate and the misinformation that gets all the airtime. They need people informed. They need people fired up. They need our energy to feed theirs. They need more power in state legislatures and courthouses and governors' mansions. They need to hold the House and expand the Senate, and they are ready to make real change if we give them the power to do so. Democrats abroad have the power to change almost every close election in America. You guys are our secret weapon. The Republicans think they can just take this country from us, that we'll be distracted by whatever shiny thing they put in our path while they are stripping us of our human rights and our rule of law. And we have to stand up and say, I don't think so. America is in danger, yes, but we're also the closest we have ever been to fulfilling the real promise of this nation. Don't you want to be a part of that? So lean left. Convince people to join you. Stop us from going over that cliff. Even if someone in your life has never cared about politics before, now is the time. This is why you're here. This is why I do what I do. This is why Democrats Abroad exists. Because we care. We believe in democracy and the important role America plays in the world. We don't just need America to be better for us. We need it to be better for everyone. The Democratic Party may be flawed, but it can be fixed. The Republican Party is irrevocably broken and must be defeated. And it is up to us to make sure that happens. I want to thank you so much for having me here today. Thank you for caring enough about democracy to be here. Thank you for taking time out of your day to be a part of this event. Now let's go out and make the world a better place and get all of you guys abroad to vote. We've got this. And if we work together, we can turn this around. Thank you so much for having me. Bye.